We have made it finally to our last-ish type of factoring. Up until this point, we've only factored trinomials, things with 3 terms. Today we're going to throw in a 4th term or polynomial. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to group the first 2 terms together and the last 2 terms together. So basically, we're taking it and we are going to split it into 2 separate problems. Let me use a Post-it note for just a second to cover it. So if I'm looking at x cubed plus 7x squared, I want to factor out the greatest common factor. My greatest common factor does not necessarily have to be a constant, just a number. It can be a variable. So if I look right here, these both have x's. My smallest x is an x squared, so I can factor out an x squared. If I factor out an x squared from there, from x cubed, I have just one x left. If I factor out an x squared from here, I have a positive 7 left. And I could double check that. X squared times x gives me x cubed. X squared times 7 gives me 7x squared. Okay? If I do it to one side, I need to factor out my other side. If I look at these both don't have variables, but both of these numbers are divisible by positive 2. If I do 2x divided by 2, I'm left with x. If I do 14 divided by 2, I'm left with 7. Once I factor out both sides, I should, if I can get my Post-it note off, I should see that both of my parentheses are the same. They have to be the same. That's going to be one of my parentheses. Then my numbers that are left, which for this case is x squared and a positive 2. That is going to be my other parentheses. So my parentheses that match, I'm going to keep that factor. Anything outside the parentheses are going to make up my other parentheses. And we can distribute to check our answer. So x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 7, 7x squared. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 7 is 14. And it should match right there. And it does. So we're good to go. We're probably only going to do one more of these together. And then I'm going to turn you loose for a little bit. Take them, divide them in half. If you want to post a note to cover up your work, we can totally make that happen. Out of both of these, I'm going to factor out an x squared. So I'm left with x plus 4. On both of these, I can factor out an 8. Specifically, it is a positive 8. If I factor out a positive 8, I'm left with x plus 4. My 2 parentheses match up. So x plus 4 is going to be one of my parentheses. X squared plus 8 is going to be my other parentheses. And some of you might be asking, well, how do I know if this is a positive or a negative? Okay? If this is a positive 8x, a positive 32, what I'm able to factor out is a positive 8. It does come up. Let me see if I can find one where I would want to factor out a negative number 4. If I take number 4, split it in half, I can factor out a k squared. So I'm left with k plus 2. If I look at my other side, I know right here that I need my parentheses to be a k plus 2 for it to work out. Well, to turn a negative 10 into a negative 2, I'm sorry, to turn a negative 10 into a positive 2, we're going to factor out a negative 5. Negative divided by negative leaves me with a positive k. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 leaves me with a positive 2. So k squared plus, k squared minus 5, k plus 2. If I would not have made that realization that I was pulling out a negative, what some of us might have been tempted to do, pull out my k squared, say k plus 2. For some of us, we would have just factored out a 5 in general. And if I would have factored out a 5, I would have been left with a negative k and a negative 2. So my parentheses are similar, but if the signs are different, I can change both of those signs. But I have to change that 5 sign as well. And if you come across that while you're practicing, we'll work on that. Go ahead and pause the video. You should be able to work all the way through number 14. Once you are finished with 14, I want you to check yourself on the iPad, and then we're going to come back to the video. Go ahead and pause the video now. If I look at number 15, I'm still working with factoring, but now I have 2 different letters that I'm working with. So what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange just so we can group similar variables. And just to make it easy for myself, I always try to do it in alphabetical order. So if I'm looking at here, I'm going to put my 2 x's first. I want to put my biggest x exponent, then my other x, and I'm going to cross them out just so I can kind of get them out of my line of sight. Now I have both of my y's. I'm still going to go in alphabetical order, so a positive 2xy, then a negative 10y. Once I rearrange these, my steps are still the same. Factor out an x, so negative x plus 5. If I factor out on here, both of these are divisible by 2y. So that leaves me with x minus negative 10 divided by 2 is 5. My signs are not the same, so I'm going to take everything in that second half and just change its signs, because now my parentheses match up. So one parentheses, one factor, x minus 2y. My other factor, my other parentheses, right there. Now, let's do one more just to get you started, and then I really, really will shut up and turn you loose, I promise. U squared, my biggest u, minus my u by itself, plus my u with a v, plus my v. If I look at these both have a negative u that I could factor out. Negative u squared divided by u would be u. Negative u divided by negative u would be a positive 1. Looking at here, these both have a positive v that I could factor out. That would leave me with u plus 1. So negative u and a positive v times u plus 1. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn you loose. You can finish 17 and 18. We can start on this practice problems. That iPad will be available for you guys to check yourself. Let's get busy.